Yo, it's Eddie Ortega. In the year 2021, I did this thing that I called like my year of ink. I really have always struggled with confidence in my mark making, okay? Ever since I was a kid, I was like a true ctrl+z warrior, okay? Like, you know, every drawing, every line that I would make, I would just erase it. It's not good enough, you know? Make another mark, oh my God, it's trash. And this was just my life as an artist for so long. Even though I pursued art as a career, none of this took that away. Even when I got into digital art, it got worse because now instead of erasing, I could just hit that ctrl+z and man, it was hard. One day I just kind of got tired of it, you know, like pandemic was happening and all that. I was just like, fuck it, I'm tired of it. I'm just going to draw purely with ink for a whole year. And so mostly using a brush pen or, you know, other pens, which I'll show you in the video. But I just made a commitment to just like, I'm just going to draw all the things that seem hard to me, which at the time was mostly faces, hands, bodies, with pens, with brushes, with ink. So I thought it'd be fun to just give you a review of all the drawings that I made during that time, show you the good, the bad, the ugly, you know. I just love showing the realistic like art journey, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we see a lot of like the highlight reel all the time, and we see people's like best work, and we see people when they've already achieved some level of skill. But I think it would be so much more fun if everybody shared their like ugly drawings, their crappy stuff, the things that we don't feel super proud of, because that's where you really learn, you know. So anyway, so I'll walk you through a bunch of sketchbooks that I drew in during that time. I have a bunch of drawings that I made, you know, stacks of paper. And hopefully you'll enjoy that, get something out of it. And I also can learn a little bit more about like what was going on in my own head when I was making those. All right, let's do it. Here's some of the more just normal daily stuff. I really like writing dedications at the face of my sketchbooks. It's kind of like a way to set an intention for them, you know? And I'm stupid enough to share these on the internet. So this is what I wrote for kind of my first sketchbook in a long time, January 14, 2021. I said I dedicated the sketchbook to playful self-expression, imaginative exploration, and sincere, this is the big one, mistake making. Honestly, this really set the tone for what I needed in this season of my life, because this is the same time that I was working with those brushes. So I also made these drawings, a lot of these drawings with that brush that I shared with you. Here's some bad drawings. I don't like those at all. And I love these. I started drawing these skulls in a different sketchbook, and I kind of kept doing it. Ink, but with a pen, which this is just like fan art from like Final Fantasy and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed some of this stuff, man. It was just like very striking, very stark, like thick lines, just black and white. There's something about that I really, really loved. Of course, just straight up Final Fantasy. Love that. Just some doodles. My face. There's some pencil drawings in here where I'm beating myself up for overthinking it and overdoing it. And generally speaking, you could tell that I was really struggling with just like letting go. Every time I would get on pencil, it wasn't feeling good. This is all right, I guess. I don't really love it. This is much better. All right. Lots of face doodles, just making up stuff. Hey, I kind of like that. I like the angularity of that. I like the intensity of those lines. At least they're kind of weirdly confident. A lot of talk about fear in this sketchbook. A lot of talk about fear and confidence. So here's some like character doodles that came out of me watching too much Ghost in the Shell and me thinking of some scenes for my own comic. These are fun. I think at the time, even though these aren't like the greatest pieces of art, I was very proud of being able to come up with scenes, and there's a story that's been brewing in my head for a while. I'll talk about that another time. Yeah, I think that's plenty with this one. Oh, here's some nice face studies. Just faces, just like trying to come up with expressions. I feel like I always draw the same things with the same neutral expressions, faces with neutral expressions. So I thought it'd be fun to actually practice faces and expressions. My heroes, Miyazaki. I really like this page. I don't know why. For me, it represented like me kind of letting loose and being able to come up with characters from my head and just straight up on ink. And there's something kind of cool about that. Not every drawing is good, but some of them are pretty sweet. I don't like that at all. Or that. That's pretty all right. I think as a page, that's fun. I like that. Trying it out with markers. That one's pretty all right. I felt good about that. I think I was just thinking about playing with texture and shape and how to get more out of a brush. Some of these are not great. God, some of these are really not great. And then here's a really good one. I really like that. That came out pretty decent. But you know, these pages coexist with each other. There's like this absolute tragedy, and then there's like this significantly better study. More studies. That's it. Hey, it's Eddie from the future. As I was editing the video, I realized that with regards to those ink drawings, the loose ones, the ones that are in stacks of paper like this, I just have too many of them, and I actually want to make a separate video to talk about them. I did a lot of studies of body parts and heads and figures in general, and I was so excited with that process. I was so excited with that process that I feel like it would just be more fun if we had a separate session where I talk to you about figures and ink. So look out for that as well. But what you just need to know for this moment in time is that along with those sketchbook drawings that I was making, I was also doing these kinds of practices on loose sheets of paper, just kind of testing my hand at the brush and getting better every time. So yeah, if you're interested in that, leave me a comment or let me know. I'll make that video very soon. Okay, back to the sketchbook thing. Here's another sketchbook in black. Just 2 months later, here's a different dedication that I made to my budding confidence and devotion to creativity. At the time, I was really struggling. I was going through some hard changes in my life. And quite honestly, the only thing I believed in was just making more art. So you could see in the progression of these sketchbooks, like my dedication was just increasing. And I feel like it was the first time that I decided to seriously just dedicate to my art in a way that took it more seriously. Even though I've studied art my whole life, took myself seriously. It's really what I'm talking about here. Like just believing in my own ideas, believing in my own drawings, no longer beating myself up for not everything that I do not being amazing. So that's why I did that. And let's get closer here. And you could definitely see, well, you know, again, I kept going with the pens. They were okay. Some of these are all right. All right, let's prop it up right here. So one of my favorite things about this sketchbook is I really started to try to break out into the whole figure. Didn't always work out, but I also started to see like the emergence of a style. I have a sort of comic world in mind that I've been wanting to make, and I love these kind of like angular, just sort of sharp, really quite confident lines. Even though the proportions of these aren't like amazing, the ink worked. It's magic on me. You can now even see it in my pencil drawings. Like the mark making just became more confident. Just generally, just more, I'm just gonna go for it. And that's something I'm really quite proud of. Before this, if you saw my old sketchbooks, well, and I mean, you saw some of it in the last one, the mark making just was shy and blurry and busy. And it started to become more like sharp cut, you know? Drawing with markers and ink for a year really improved my relationship to mark making. This was a page that I felt pretty proud of. Not bad at all. I mean, not bad at all for like a doodle that I made in a couple minutes. And it's followed up by a bunch of pages of just meh drawing. These little houses are for another time. I actually love this. This came off my head, you know, no references. It doesn't look like much, but it actually represents me having internalized a lot of those studies and being able to just showcase them with markers, which is really, honestly, quite awesome. Same here. These are the famed Zoom call drawing sessions. Not all of these are successful, of course. Love this one, super graphic. This feels even close to what I would call like my own style, okay? Just 2 months difference, right? from this stuff. This is, oh my God, I'm not confident in my mark making. This is, at least I am putting that mark down and I'm sticking with it. And that's huge progress, okay? Honestly, looking back on this, I'm very grateful. I think at the time, I remember thinking, wow, this sketchbook sucks. There's so many bad pages. Look at all of these bad pages, okay? And this is a lot of how I was thinking at the time. I just felt like every single mark was like some kind of meditation, man. It was like really deep. I would get really obsessed with how every mark is sort of like a tracing of time or something, or like some kind of like freezing something across time. I don't know how to explain it. But at the time it felt quite poetic and quite clear. Bunch of messy mark making. At the time, I really had a tendency to beat myself up for a lot of things. So my sister used to say to me, don't twist the knife on yourself. You know, when you're already hurting, there's no point in twisting the knife. And honestly, that's a lesson. That's a really deep lesson that actually I've found it even to be useful in my art making. Like, you don't have to beat yourself up about the things that don't go as well. Yes, sir. Still believing that. I just remember at the time feeling like everything I did was mark making practice. Like, not just my art, but also like my relationships. Like, I'd get into a fight with someone and then I'd think, man, that could have gone so much better. Like, I could have avoided a whole conflict there, or I could have just been more compassionate. And that's where I would twist the knife on myself, beat myself up. Wasn't awesome, you know? But then I'd have these moments where I think, well, every single moment is an opportunity to sort of try again. It's sort of an opportunity to make a new mark, see how that mark goes. And that kind of relationship, that kind of thinking that was going on in my head was affecting the way I was making the art, and it was helping me with my confidence, which is actually something I'm really excited about. Let's see what else is in this sketchbook. Yeah, see? Just don't be mean about it. Just do it again. Some other noodlers. We don't have to look at all of these. Meh. Just bad attempts at the body. And then that is playful. These drawings are playful and exploratory, and experiencing a little bit more texture, experiencing a little bit more looseness, a little less obsession with whether each detail is clear or correct, or whether the lines are all connected. I love this one. Don't hide. Do not hide. Yes, I still think this. The experience of God comes from within, not from the outside. And generally speaking, I think I had this experience of like feeling like all these characters were basically talking to me. I love this page. Check it out. Something about this specific drawing is like just exploring line, exploring sharpness, softness. It's just playful. And so when I think of my dedication, you know, at the beginning of that year, playful self-expression, imaginative exploration, sincere mistake making. Well, sir, mission accomplished. 3 months later, I would say that's what I was doing. And again, I can only recognize that in retrospect. I think if I'd made this video at the end of 2021, I still wouldn't have had the realization of like, wow, what I actually set out to do did actually manifest, which is pretty sweet. Even though this drawing is not like, I don't know, it's like the proportions aren't perfect or anything, but I just like the textural quality of it and how I was just playing around with brush and line, and honestly, fun times. Okay, some more doodles, just tons of doodles, waxed, waxed and overtaxed. That's America for you in 2021. I also was doing a bunch of studies from like Ghibli movies, you know, like everybody else that's a millennial. Just trying to understand how these shots are composed. And I was also beginning to get into watercolor. So these are a bunch of just Miyazaki, straight up out of the art books kind of thing. And I honestly, even these drawings, I was proud of at the time. I thought, wow, like with the mark making that I've learned in the last 3 months, I can actually draw these things with just like single stroke lines. Even though this is just like a copy and they're not like super accurate or anything, they do belie a sort of confidence. I'm really proud of that, man. I'm really proud of just being able to break out of the sense that every single line I make has to be perfect. That took some work to get through. You could see how I kind of evolved out of the pen and started to get bored and started to apply that into, you know, some anime stuff, more anime sort of imitations. And wow, look at this. Okay, so this drawing, I'm actually so proud of this drawing. This was just a copy from Princess Mononoke, but the energy in this line making, even though it's not my own subject matter, it really, really, really represented a moment where I was like, just completely changing my mindset around how to actually make lines. And again, that is just something that I am pleased with. And looking back on it, I think this sketchbook was the seed of a lot of confidence for me. You know, these sort of Miyazaki studies became very easeful. You know, I could sit down for a night and then just fill out, you know, 5-10 pages just doing this stuff. Whereas when I was a little younger, I could have spent hours just looking at a single drawing and trying to make that work, and just beating myself up thinking, why can't I make that good? So I don't know, that's pretty nice, man. All right, so I made every single one of those drawings mostly with either this pen tool brush. It's nothing fancy. This is something that you can buy at any art store. I'll put the link in the description, I guess. What I like about this thing is that it has a rechargeable little cartridge that you could buy. And so I just burned through like, I don't know, maybe 5 of those in like a year's time. I also really fell in love with just these, the Pilot G2s. These are just like the regular ballpoint pens, the clicky type. But I like this particular brand because it's very jelly and it's kind of nice, and that's how I made a lot of these kinds of drawings. Came from that. I don't know, I must have used maybe 12 of these, like a box of these during that time. And then the one other thing that I used during that time was a lot of this marker. It's the Tombow ABTs. I'll put that in the description as well. And what I love about these is that they have a brush tip on one side and a liner tip on the other side. So you can kind of just flip it. Now, I didn't know anything about any of these materials at the beginning of that year. Like I said, my intention was playful self-expression, imaginative exploration, and sincere mistake making. And boy, did I do that. It took too long for me to even get to the point where I was willing to just make mistakes. Let's say like, so boldly, so honestly. I just grew up being too much of a perfectionist and trying too hard to make things perfect. I just needed to learn how to make mistakes, and I feel like the ink was my guide in that. I just was exploring, I was experimenting, I was trying different things, and I just landed on the materials that I enjoyed. I just would go to the art store, find something that seemed interesting, try it, see if I liked it. And this is where it took me. So anyway, you get the vibe. That was my year of ink, the year 2021, and I have always wanted to make a video to just commemorate that. I feel like it was an important time in my development, and I wanted to share it with you. As always, I've been dedicated to making art my whole life, but it isn't until the most recent years that I felt like, oh man, I'm ready to share this stuff. I'm no longer so hard on myself, and I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I'm just enjoying the process, having fun. I have more art to share and other practices that I explored during the years after that. And so please stay tuned to this channel if you like this kind of content, and I would love to know about it. I can't tell if these videos are interesting or useful to people yet, so I really, really would love to hear about it. And yeah, I think that's all that's on my mind today. Thanks for joining me for this. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. If you really need to improve your mark making, your confidence, your sense of, I don't know, confidence with mark making, and you've been stuck in that land for a long time, maybe try a year of ink. What if you just drew in ink for a whole year, and every single thing, every single mark you made, you just looked at it as, okay, another opportunity to learn, another mark made, let's keep making marks. All right, I'll see you on the next video. Ciao.